What's going on, guys? Kevin here from thesportsgeek.com, and in this video I'm going to go over my DraftKings NFL Week 1 picks. So the NFL season is pretty much finally here, and we're a little early, but I'm going to give out my picks right now for NFL Week 1, and then if I have any changes, if I add any picks or kind of dislike any players I mentioned in this video, I'm going to email out some updates like I do every week to my email list. So if you're not on my email list, make sure you click on that lineup tool link in the YouTube description below. You'll get my free lineup tool, and you'll also get on my email list when I update people with my DFS picks and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you get on that. Let's get right into the Week 1 picks. If you want to be updated on when I post new YouTube videos, make sure you subscribe to the notifications. If you're on a desktop, you can do so by clicking on that little gear icon underneath the YouTube video. If you're on a mobile phone, you can see there on the right, there's a little bell icon you can click on. Click on those and subscribe to the notifications so you don't miss one of my DraftKings pick videos. All right, so starting off, we got a quarterback wide receiver stack. We got quarterback Matthew Stafford of the Lions, 7,200, paired with his wide receiver Marvin Jones at just 4,600. The Lions are going to be traveling to Indianapolis, and this game has the highest total of the week, with Vegas setting the over-under at 51 points. The Colts will be without Pro Bowl cornerback Vontae Davis, which should allow the Lions to throw the ball around quite a bit. Stafford was the 13th ranked quarterback in DraftKings points per game last year, and that was despite a slow start to the season. He also finished strong with 22, 24, and 24 DraftKings points in his final 3 games. I expect a much better start to the season this year against Indianapolis in Week 1. Marvin Jones, he didn't have a great 2015, but he's going to have a bigger role here in Detroit with Megatron retired. We're going to have 2 receivers that are going to get a lot of the opportunities and targets for Detroit. That will be Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. This week, Marvin Jones is quite a bit cheaper, so I like him a little bit more. He had a great preseason and training camp and should meet value at the low price tag. Ownership's going to be high on Marvin Jones, but I'm not too sure how high the ownership's going to be on this stack. I really like it this week, and that's one of my top stacks for Week 1. Another stack I like is going to be the Bengals stack with quarterback Andy Dalton at 6,800 and wide receiver AJ Green at 8,400. Dalton ranked 8th in quarterbacks in DraftKings points per game last year, and he had good upside with a couple games over 30 DraftKings points. He's often a guy that's not talked about too much, but he's usually pretty consistent and has the upside. And he's also got a number 1 pass catcher to throw to. That's AJ Green. AJ Green was the 12th ranked wide receiver in DraftKings points per games last year. And he also had 2 games with more than 30 DraftKings points, including 47.7 DraftKings points in a road game in September. The Bengals are on the road this week against the Jets, and they should be a very low-owned stack with the Jets' defense generally being pretty good. But I still think they can put up a pretty big DraftKings day. Andy Dalton's pretty cheap. AJ Green is a number 1 receiver, so I think it's going to be a low-owned stack that could go off for a big game. Next up, we got running back Latavius Murray from the Raiders at 5,600. He has a good matchup this week against the league's worst defense from last year, which was New Orleans. Last year, he started the season off great, but faded down the stretch. The Raiders upgraded their offensive line this year, which should help the run game. I expect Latavius Murray to have a more consistent season and a pretty solid season. Last year, he carried the ball 267 times for 1,066 yards. He only had 6 touchdowns, but that number should go up this year. I'm looking for 20-plus DraftKings points, which he accomplished twice last year. So he didn't do it too many times last year, but I like this spot against New Orleans. I think the Raiders could put up a lot of points this week, and I think Murray's going to get the ball a ton. And with the upgraded line, I think he's got a good chance of putting up more than 20 DraftKings points this week. Another running back I like is Lamar Miller at 7,000. He's one of the most talented running backs in the league. He just didn't get enough touches in Miami. Luckily for him, he signed with Houston in the offseason. He's going to get a good matchup in Week 1 versus the Bears. And this is a guy with huge upside, as we saw last year when he had 2 games, with one with 41.6 and one with 33.1 DraftKings points. And like I said, he didn't get enough touches in Miami. He only had 1 single game with 20 or more carries, and that was exactly 20 carries. So they didn't like to give him his opportunities, but I think Houston will, and he's a good pass catcher, which is good for DraftKings point per reception. So I think Lamar Miller at 7,000, pretty expensive for a running back, but definitely has the upside to make it well worth it. I've got a value wide receiver here that I like. It's Jermaine Kearse from the Seahawks at 3,500. So at this price, we would be okay with 12 DraftKings points. Ideally, you want a little more, but 12 we'd be okay with. He got that in 8 games last season. And then he also scored more than 20 DraftKings points 3 times, including 37 in their last playoff game versus Carolina. They're facing the Dolphins this week with the 29th ranked pass defense last year. I think they upgraded a little bit in the offseason. They might be a little better, but I still think the Seahawks playing at home will probably put up quite a few points. And he should get more targets this year. And at the price, I think Kearse has value at 3,500. So one of my favorite tight ends of the week here for week 1 is going to be Dwayne Allen at 3,200. With Fleener gone from Indianapolis, Allen becomes the number 1 tight end, and the Colts are going to be at home versus Detroit in a game that has the highest total, like I mentioned earlier, 51 points. Could be a shootout. Luck could be throwing the ball around a ton. Allen didn't do too much last year, but in 2014, he caught 29 passes and had 8 touchdowns. And Fleener also had 8 touchdowns that year as well. So Luck threw 16 touchdown passes to tight ends. So we definitely liked looking for the tight end. And the Lions were one of the worst defenses versus tight ends last year. So Allen at 3,200 could be a very solid play this week. I've got 5 more picks here that I'm going to run through pretty quick. We got quarterback Jameis Winston, 6,600. Winston had a pretty good rookie season, throwing for 22 touchdowns with 15 interceptions, adding 6 touchdowns on the ground. The fantasy upside is definitely there with Winston, as he has the ability to run for touchdowns as well. He scored just under 30 DraftKings points last year in Philadelphia, and he gets a good matchup in week 1 versus the Falcons. The price is definitely high on Winston, but ownership shouldn't be, and I think he's a decent play for week 1. Then we got wide receiver Stefon Diggs at 4,800. Diggs is a talented receiver who started off hot last year, and then he cooled down towards the end of the season. He had 4 games with 20 or more DraftKings points last year, but then also had multiple with fewer than 10 DraftKings points. In his latest preseason game, he did catch 5 passes for 71 yards from Bridgewater, so I definitely will have Diggs in a handful of lineups at least this week in week 1. Another running back here, Darren Sproles, 4,200. This is a bit of a flyer running back pick, as we aren't too sure how Sproles will be used this year as a number 2 back, but he should get some opportunities in the passing game. Sproles is definitely dangerous with the ball, so the upside is definitely there. I'd be looking for at least 16 DraftKings points out of Sproles, a number he only hit 3 times last year. So again, a risky pick, but a good GPP play in my opinion. Another tight end I like this week is Jason Witten at 4,100. With Dak Prescott in a good matchup at a very cheap price in week 1, I think all of the Cowboys pass catchers will have inflated ownership levels, but my favorite out of the bunch to stack with Prescott is probably Jason Witten, who often goes overlooked in this Cowboys offense. Witten is usually good for right around 10 DraftKings points, but he does have the upside to score more. We saw it last year in week 1 versus the Giants when he put up 26 DraftKings points. And this week, we've got another week 1 matchup at home versus the Giants, and possibly another big game for Witten. So at 4,100, if I had to pick one of the Cowboys pass catchers for the value, I like Witten at the price. And then my last pick here is defense special team picks. We've got the Texans at 3,200. Defense is usually the last position I choose when building lineups. I don't like to go too heavy on a single defense, but for week 1, my favorite is probably the Texans. They were ranked 4th in weighted defense last year on footballoutsiders.com. They averaged a very solid 9.4 DraftKings points per home game, and they scored 20 or more DraftKings points 3 different times during the 2015 season. They're going to be hosting the Bears in week 1, who are expected to be a below 500 team. And so it looks like a pretty good spot for the Texans at home in week 1 against a weaker opponent. So 3,200, not a bad price, and Texans would be my number 1 recommendation. All right, so that's it for my NFL Week 1 picks, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you guys are looking to win more money this year with your DFS, I highly recommend you sign up for a full year account with Fantasy Labs. Try them out for a year for the football season, and I'm guaranteeing you won't be disappointed in the tools they have and the different services that they offer. It's an amazing tool and helped me win a lot of money in 2015. I'm looking forward to 2016 with the help of Fantasy Labs. If you guys want to sign up for Fantasy Labs, I've got a link in the YouTube description below. Highly recommend you check it out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click that like or that thumbs up button on YouTube. It helps support my YouTube channel and also lets me know that you enjoy these videos so I know to keep making them each week. As always, guys, good luck with your contest. Hope you make some money here in NFL Week 1. Go get it.